just me. I don't know why I said we, but it could be royal we, right? I mean, but at times I do consider myself as royalty at times, but I'm the one who uh, who end up dishonoring myself so often that it's hard to continue that delusion, I guess. And that is a different kind of delusion, right? Like knowing that you are royalty, like you have some sort of like royal blood, meaning your forefather or someone in your family decided to uh, play politics or be warrior and took over a land and started ruling it. So now your family is special. It's special because I don't know, your grandfather was a good leader or something. Yeah, royalty. But that's also a mindset, and that's a different. Um, that's where I'm stand differently. Meaning, like having that royalty mindset kind of resonate with having this abundance mindset that you have abundance of everything, that you don't have to be scarce, obviously. To me, that feel more like a royalty mindset. Maybe I'm uh, just making up things, um, which still would be true. But think about it, like the children born into royal families, right? They especially the one who haven't achieved anything by themselves. You know, they have to constantly delude themselves that they are superior, that they are royal, that they are leader of whatever the size of their nation is, and that constant delusion make them feel that they are royal and act like a leader. And I bet like a lot of those kings and emperors, not emperors maybe, but kings, a lot of those kings survive by just carrying their forefathers' legacy. But at the same time, a lot of self made emperors or kings, for that matter, who actually, you know, partook into wars or revolutions or movements and then acquired that level of power. They might they earn that royalty, right? So it's a different uh, level for sure. And in my experience, and I have very little, but in my experience, most of the people who achieved a lot, they are a bit humble about themselves. Um, but to each their own, I guess. And I try to. Okay, I don't want to. I don't want to say things which I don't mean to, especially at 11:52 p.m. I mean, I know it's Friday night and it's almost 12, and I am at my desk and doing this, and I'm kind of wondering the same thing. Why? Why am I doing this? Well, to be honest, I'm actually going out of town tomorrow, so I wanted to do one of this random Wikipedia thing before I leave the town. So that's one reason, and the other reason is, well, I mean, I'm a bit high and tipsy, so why not? I mean, uh, and the best part of doing this is this whole randomness to it, right? Like that's my favorite part, because I don't know what article I'm gonna be coming across, uh, and let the AI figure it out for me. And the AI thinks I should learn about Helen Zehner, uh, who was born on 19 September 1972 and is a French politician representing La République, République en Marche. She was elected to the French National Assembly on 18 June 2017, representing the Moselle's 7th constituency. Okay, look like Miss Helen is doing good. She's doing good in life. I mean, she kind of won an election, and now she's a politician. To be honest, let's see what kind of party is La République en Marche. LREM, translated as the Republic on the Move or Republic Forward, sometimes called simply En Marche. Okay, as its original name, is a liberal political party in France. On 5th May 2022, the party changed its name to Renaissance ahead of the 2022 legislative election. The, part, the party was founded on 6th April 2016 by Emmanuel Macron, a former Minister of the Economy, Industry and Digital Affairs, who was later elected President of the French Republic in the 2017 presidential election with 66.1% of the second round vote. Presented as a pro European party, Macron considers LREM to be a progressive movement uniting both the left and the right. Following that year's presidential election, the party ran candidates in the 2017 legislative election, including dissidents from the Socialist Party and the Republicans, as well as minor parties. It won an absolute majority in the National Assembly, securing 308 seats. LREM accepts globalization and wants to modernize and moralize French politics, combining social and economic liberalism. The movement generally accepts members from other parties at a higher rate than other political parties in France, and does not impose any fees on members who want to join. The party has been a member of the European Parliamentary Group Renew Europe since June 2019. Yeah, so Macron, he created this party. Wow. And that seems so recent, right? Like just 6 years. I mean, it's odd because I've seen so many um, political parties in India which never end up uh, winning a lot of seats or a lot of votes, I guess. And most of those political parties merge with the bigger political parties, like corporations, oddly. Um, and I think there are very few political parties which was founded and they won like the majority vote or won the election. Hmm. That pretty much happens during like some sort of revolutions, I guess. Otherwise, the establishment they they rule. I mean, that's why they are established. And that's the problem with especially the US politics because I mean, you know, both parties they for some reason they do the opposite of what is the need of the hour, you know? Uh, like right now, for example, the conservative side, the Republican Party, they are actively uh, cutting down rights for no reason. I mean, just because they're God, their God, who who is super moralist, I guess, just like every other God. Uh, their God want them to make sure that all lives are brought into the world. I don't know. I don't know what that even mean, because obviously they're God. Uh, the God, their God didn't care about babies. Just before medical science, started um, better hygienic procedures, right? Like, even during the birth, there used to be so many accidents, or so many reasons why, a pregnant woman used to die during birth, and uh, that was supernatural, or that was the act of God, if you will. But because of medical science now, there are fewer women who end up dying during the childbirth, because of complications. So I don't get the whole God love children or God love life, because God kills all the time. So the core, the entire belief itself is flawed. But so it's all about control, right? It's all about power, and that's what conservatives want to do. They want to control the aspects of life of others, and they want to dictate. They want to be the one in control, and and the liberal side, I guess, the left wing, if you will, they are in the whole other world. I mean, the extreme left wing are so wild, just like extreme right wing, I guess. The extremes are always kind of wild, or crazy, or a lot of extremes are even violent. So, it's but that being said, the extreme on the right and the extreme on the left, um, both have like very divisive um, ideology, and that is one of the reasons why the I would say the the silent majority, and this is not a new concept, but obviously the silent majority, people who kind of lean on one side or the other side of the political spectrum, but they kind of don't mind switching over different parties if they see that the candidate is a better choice, I guess, independence. But there are fewer. I think there are a lot of independents, but obviously they're still kind of married to their own party line, and that's why all of these political parties, they're cults. They are cults. Once you kind of subscribe to one or the other ideology, you all subscribe to like everything within that, which is stupid, which is very, very uh, naive way to look at the reality, right? Because, depending on your experience, depending on your understanding of how things are, you may have different opinion, um, uh, within your own within your own party, right? Within your own um, side of the political spectrum, I guess. But anyhow, I kind of tangented, which I do. Like, politics is fascinating to me because it's all about how different choices made by different people affect and impact, like, the bigger part of the society. So to certain degree, it's it's one of those things which gonna impact you, just like economy is. No matter how much money you have or don't have, whatever is the state of economy, it's gonna impact you because uh, you know, the effects, the ripple effects of different events, right? And so politics, economy, and I would say you can create your own bubble to avoid different cultural um, aspects, right? Like if you're not a fan of sports, then it doesn't matter to you which team wins. So regardless of which team wins, your life doesn't change at all. Um, but if you if you kind of sort of doesn't understand the political structure, it will impact your lives in some or the other way. Uh, I think a lot of these things are cultural shaping things, right? Like politics, obviously, economy, and music, entertainment. These are all like shaping the culture within that specific timeline. And we are actually living in a very, very, I don't know what to call, chaotic timeline. There is a lot of chaos. And to be honest, like most of the chaos is online. So, uh, but you do see the effects of that in the offline world, I guess, or in the real world. Yeah, so it's it's hard to separate the online world versus the offline world, um, but offline world is pretty chaotic too. I mean, have you ever tried, or if you're old enough, do you ever remember the time when you didn't have like any phone or anything, and you had to maybe like, I don't know, sit and read a book maybe, or watch a TV, and if the power is out, which happened, which happens so often in India, that you're stuck with maybe actually reading a book, or maybe a comic or some magazine, or if it's still uh, daylight, then go out and play. Those were kind of sort of like different activities, if I will. Uh, but back in the day when we didn't have devices, we were able to focus on different aspects of life, in general, and and now that we have access to this unlimited attention grabber, I guess, your device. I mean, the device on which you're watching this, it's designed to grab your attention, and to a certain degree, I'm trying to do the same, but instead of using a device, I'm trying to do it with my words, with my thoughts, and just trying to see if my thoughts could or are able to grab your attention even for a while, and that itself, I think would be success for today then. But but these devices are designed to grab our attention for unlimited time, so that kind of makes it a bit scary, because you can literally, and I'm sure these are not my words, meaning I haven't like thought about it first, but literally we are becoming digital zombies, right? So once we are uh, once we are, I don't know, doing whatever we are doing on these devices, we are completely gone. And to be honest, I'm like a different level of zombie, I guess, because at times I'm like, watching something and also at the same time playing something on my phone, and yeah, it's at least two levels deep of distraction, I guess, and I don't know. I don't know how to how this is impacting, right? I'm obviously it's impacting a lot of people in the world, but it's also impacting me personally, right? And I do enjoy um, my time when I'm not doing anything on any of the devices, right? Maybe especially when I'm driving. So that's even then. I guess I'm most of the time I'm either listening to some podcast or I just listen to some music. But at least I'm not like constantly looking at the devices. But I do enjoy driving. Driving is real. Uh, it's real freeing, you know. I mean, I still remember I was maybe what 13 or 14 or something, and my family, we we had this car, and I wanted to learn to drive, and it driving itself is complicated, especially with the car I learned to drive on. I mean, those cars are like one of those like old school cars, so no power steering. It had like manual gears, but also manual gear like in a different place instead of the regular on the side, and it was built like built heavy, uh, um, yeah. So I I used to kind of like sneak out to kind of just drive around in that car plenty of times, and uh, that uh, just I I actually forgot my original train of thought, but it's so kind of fascinating and freeing, right? I think that's what I was getting at, right? It's freeing to experience that level of freedom, that you have this vehicle now, you can go from point A to point B without being dependent on anything else, on any other factors. I mean, of course, you will still encounter traffic and other, other hurdles, I guess. Um, but you at least have this freedom to do whatever you want, go wherever you want, and that's what you know. Uh, I've I think having or able to kind of drive or ride. In India, you can just take even a bike, a two wheeler, and you can just go anywhere you want. So having that kind of freedom feels so, uh, I don't know, so fulfilling, I guess. Um, and maybe the whole point of talking about that was because it's Monday, gonna be America's Independence Day, and it's it's a fascinating history. Uh, I mean, I find the entire world history fascinating. How different cultures um, did different things and created their own um, civilization, and how different civilizations interacted with each other, and sometimes with trade and peaceful negotiations, and sometimes with wars and violence. So um, um, all of those history kind of makes me at least appreciate the time we are living in, because first of all, the time of the past, I don't know, maybe few centuries back, was so different, right? I mean, not just commoners like maybe even me, right? Like I was born in a good family. Um, Again, good is subjective and relative, but I was born in a good family with all of my basic needs met. I had like plenty of food and shelter and clothing, and and then all the other psychological, whatever triggers, traumas, or pains comes with being around family, and that's just being human. And but if I were born into some other social status or some other place in the world, my life would have been completely different. The way I look at the world would have been completely different. And it's almost impossible to say if I would believe in the same things I believe today, right now, right? Because if I were born in a different circumstances and different timeline, for even that matter, and had been through different set of experiences that um, that kind of shape my present moment, and the or at least my present understanding of myself, you know so that that understanding of yourself itself is built on this whole randomness of where you were born and how you were raised. So it's complicated to kind of even imagine how your life would have been if you experienced different, you know, uh, completely different circumstances than how you were born and raised. And but I think that thought is waste of time, for sure, because no one have control over when and where you will be born. I mean, if you did had control, that means you chose to be born in this timeline, and to whichever circumstances, which again I don't think anyone have control over that. But um, but the only thing we can control is what we can do uh, right here, right now, right? I mean, all the things you had in your past is in your past, and all the things which you're sort of picturing or imagining or fantasizing, will be part of your future, is just out there. I mean, who knows what uh, what shapes and places you'll go, or what shapes and places your future will take you. So um, the the whole point is be in this present moment, and honestly, that's one of the things I feel when I do stand up comedy, and it's probably one of the reasons why I go back for that thrill, for that flow. And plenty of times I know that okay, it's gonna be a rough set, and probably that also impact and kind of makes it a reality, because I'm already in the mindset that it's gonna be a rough set. But at the same time, um, I give myself permission to fail, which is the most important aspect of anything. To be honest, like just uh, letting yourself fail uh, helps you to kind of be more, for lack of a better word, be more um, present, be more present in the moment, because you're no longer bearing that way of um, you know being successful by your own definition, I guess. I'm still figuring it out, and it's a constant challenge. I bet every one of you know life is very mysterious. One day you think you got few things going. The other day you'll be like, okay, you have no idea what's happening in your life. Let alone in your life, you have no idea what's happening in the world. I mean, that's also part of this whole roller coaster of life too, right? Like plenty of times when you don't have control over yourself, you do feel that you don't have control over anything, and you're losing control of the world. The world is falling apart, or however you want to phrase it. But when you do have control over yourself, even if the world is falling apart, you you're still in control of that broken world, I guess. Um, and and the harsh truth is that world is falling apart. World is, uh, I mean, bleeding for, um, t- to be honest. The earth is uh, going through so many drastic changes in such a little time. And I hope that it doesn't accelerate, which it very well might. And that's the that's to a certain degree we all are responsible, right? Some more than the others, absolutely. But we all are responsible for the current state of Earth, and the 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 problem is the the changes to mitigate the say climate change are not fast enough. Meaning, in order to move away from fossil fuels, or coal or any other fossil or non-renewable based, um, fuel. To get away from that, we need to have infrastructure to sustain and to create the alternate source of energy. And the wind energy, the solar energy, those are, I mean, not super efficient. And I think nuclear is a very good option. Honestly, there is it's not as dangerous or as um, yeah, as dangerous as it used to be in the past. I guess a lot of nuclear powers, uh, you know, uh, they 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 kind of got better over time. And again, I have to do more research in this, but I think nuclear energy is a good bridge between the fossil fuel and total renewable source of energies. And right now, we need that bridge to get off the fossil fuel. But that's just one one piece of a bigger issue at large. And that's why it's complicated, because climate crisis, it's hitting from multiple directions, from all directions. And we need to upgrade a lot of these industries, so to speak, or practices, to kind of uh, mitigate this. In the the worst case scenario is nobody knows what could happen, right? Like, with all the current data we have about different weather patterns, um, different storms, or different wildfires, or droughts and flooding, and all the data we have just kind of points that everything is getting extreme, similar to our social structure, I guess. But when all of these random things uh, gonna go to extreme level, no one knows what's gonna happen, and that's the crux of the problem. And that's why it's complicated to figure out what is the best solution or proper solution. I mean, I guess ideally, everyone will be, using some sort of renewable source of energy. And maybe um, maybe we figure out, say, some lab grown meat, so people can still eat meat with the actual meat proteins and everything, but it's not coming out of poor innocent animals. So maybe, or hopefully rather, technology evolves to the place where lab grown meat is accessible and widely adopted, and that could cut down a lot of other source of uh, um, greenhouse gases, right? So if we switch away from all the fossil fuel based cars, and if we switch away to a lab grown meat, like um, lifestyle, um, and on top of that, but I mean, obviously, these are not like a simple solutions. These are not going to happen, or most of the people don't even might not even want to switch to a lab grown meat. Maybe they like that animals are killed. Hell, they probably enjoyed that animals are killed. But the different people have different beliefs, and I I kind of thinks that um, hunting should be an option to the people who actually want to connect with their food source, right? Because honestly, the kind of meat most of the people eat today, especially in the fast food industry, and the lower quality meat in any grocery store, I guess. All of those meat is processed in such an unhygienic conditions. Again, I have no, I shouldn't be like saying all, but the point being, a lot of this meat is not good for the health. And it's not just that it's not good for human health. It the animal who became meat, they had horrible life. I mean, they were born in an animal farm and killed in an animal farm. Their entire life, they just saw other animals. A lot of them their own relatives, their own, close relatives. They were slaughtered in front of them, and imagine the type of trauma that brings, or maybe not. I mean, a lot of these animals are probably not cognitively um, um, high cognitive or higher consciousness, for lack of better word, I guess, or that's probably what every people say. Like, on the scale of consciousness, a lot of these animals are not at the higher level, and conveniently, we human created that scale of consciousness. Um, but how can one imagine that any animal living in that condition will must have had like a healthy life, and their meat doesn't um, contain, or their meat is as healthier, as the companies at least advertise. um, yeah, it's it's a complicated issue, right? I mean, most of the people who eat meat, they don't want to think about it because, they don't feel guilty about it. And that's kind of true. I mean, I do the same about a lot of other issues too. And to a certain degree, I don't want to learn more about, how a lot of pesticides are probably, spread on most of the veggies and fruits I eat. Um, because for the same reason, I mean, if I don't know, at least I'm still kind of enjoying it. Ignorance is the bliss in this case, I guess. But at the same time, not knowing is not an excuse, you know? Especially in the timeline we are living in, where we have abundance of knowledge, and not knowing just means that you that you don't care about that issue, right? And which could be fair for some issue if you really don't care about it. If you really don't care, the source of your food, that's fair. That's fine. Then you don't have to um, learn about it, or I can see why you would not learn more about it. But it's still going to happen, meaning, the crops which are spread with pesticides and whatnot, that's still going to happen. um, but it but at the same time, like, just being part of this complicated human civilization, I guess we are relied on all of these various um, you know uh, all of these, say, various industries, right? Because, for better or worse, these industries help us to not go out and hunt every day, or not grow our own garden. So, there are obviously reasons why um, we are so much relied on, processed food and whatnot. I think I'm just talking in tangents here, and that's what happened when I'm high. Just keep on blabbering around the same point. Uh, but I want to continue this. So let's see. I do want kind of interested in, uh, let's just say, the French presidential election. So the 2017 French presidential election was held on 23rd April and 7th May. As no candidate won a majority in the first round, a runoff was held between the top two candidates, Emmanuel Macron, Haven March, and Marine Le Pen. of the National Front, which Macron won by a decisive margin. The presidential election was followed by a legislative election to elect members of the National Assembly on 11th and 18th June. Incumbent President Francois Hollande of the Socialist Party was eligible to run for a second term but declared on 1st December 2016 that he would not seek re-election in light of low approval ratings, making him the first incumbent head of state of the Fifth Republic not to seek re-election. Francois Fillon of the Republicans, after winning the party's first open primary, and Le Pen of the National Front led first round opinion polls in November 2016 and mid January 2017. Polls tightened considerably by late January after the publication of revelations that Fillon employed family members in possibly fictitious jobs in a series of politico financial affairs that came to be colloquially known as Penelope Gate. Macron overtook Fillon to place consistently second in first round polling. At the same time, Benoit Hamon won the socialist primary, entering fourth place in the polls. After strong debate performances, Jean-Luc Mélenchon of La France Insoumise rose significantly in polls in late March, overtaking Hamon to place. And this is too many details. Okay. Um, Estimation of the results of the second round. I want to see about the first round. The first round was held under a state of emergency that was declared following the November 2015 Paris attacks. Oh yeah, this was about the comic book, not the comic book, the press, right? So the November 2015 Paris attacks were a series of coordinated Islamist terrorist attacks that took place on Friday, 13th November 2015, in Paris, France, and the city's northern suburb, Saint Denis. Beginning at 9:15 p.m., three suicide bombers stuck outside the Stade de France in Saint Denis during an international football match, after failing to gain entry to the stadium. Another group of attackers then fired on crowded cafes and restaurants in Paris, with one of them also detonating an explosive, killing himself in the process. A third group carried out another mass shooting and took hostages at an Eagles of Death Metal concert, attended by 1,500 people in the Bataclan Theater, leading to a standoff with police. The attackers were either shot or blew themselves up when police raided the theater. Happening barely a day after similar attacks in Beirut, the attackers killed 130 people, including 90 at the Bataclan Theater. Another 416 people were injured, almost 100 critically. Seven of the attackers were also killed. The attacks were the deadliest in France since the Second World War and the deadliest in the European Union since the Madrid train bombings of 2004. France had been on high alert since the January 2015 attacks on Charlie Hebdo offices and a Jewish supermarket in Paris that killed 17 people. See, Charlie Hebdo was in January 2015, same year. How did the attacks happen? Three groups of men launched six distinct attacks, three suicide bombings in one attack, a fourth suicide bombing in another attack, and shootings at four locations. The shootings were in the vicinity of the Rue Alibert, the Rue de la Fontaine au Roi, the Rue de Charonne, the Bataclan Theatre, and Avenue de la République. Three explosions occurred near the Stade de France, another on Boulevard Voltaire, and two of the Bataclan shooters were detonated their suicide vest as police ended the standoff. According to the Paris prosecutor, the attackers wore suicide vests that used acetone peroxide as an explosive. French police reports on cell phones recovered from crime scenes suggested the attacks were being coordinated in real time from Brussels, Belgium, the location of origin of terrorist cell that the Paris attackers were members of. Gruesome. Yeah, man. There are so many troubled people. There are so many troubled people who would just want to hurt others, and maybe because they themselves are hurting, but that's still not an excuse to hurt others. World is complicated. It's it's a complicated mess. I mean, but a beautiful mess, to be honest. Um, Depending on where you're looking and how you're looking, people are so beautiful and so helpful. I mean, in my experiences, I've got help from so many strangers in so many different situations. Um, some some critical and some not so much, but and I got those helps not just here in U.S. but during my travels in different countries or in India when I was living there, or even when I went there a few weeks back. And I always get that people are friendly, and a lot of them at least want to help you. But obviously, there are also a set of people who actually don't want to help you. Not just that, they actually want to hurt you. So yeah, there are people who going through, I don't know what, their own troubles, their own issues, and for some reason choose to attack others. Want to check the Madrid train, and probably this is going to be my last article of the night. Okay. The 2004 Madrid train bombings, also known in Spain as 11M, were a series of coordinated, nearly simultaneous bombings against the Cercanías commuter train system of Madrid, Spain, on the morning of 11th March 2004, 3 days before Spain's general elections. The explosions killed 193 people and injured around 2,000. The bombings constituted the deadliest terrorist attack carried out in the history of Spain and the deadliest in Europe since 1988. The official investigation by the Spanish judiciary found that the attacks were directed by Al Qaeda in Iraq, allegedly as a reaction to Spain's involvement in the 2003 US led invasion of Iraq. Although they had no role in the planning or implementation, the Spanish miners who sold the explosives to the terrorists were also arrested. So, how did it all happen? During the peak of Madrid rush hour in the morning of Thursday, 11th March 2004, 10 explosions occurred aboard a 4 commuter train, Carcanias. The date 11th of March led to the popular abbreviation of the incident as 11M. All the affected trains were traveling on the same line and in the same direction between Alcalá de Henares and the Atocha station in Madrid. It was later reported that 13 improvised explosive devices had been placed on the trains. Bomb disposal teams arriving at the scenes of the explosions detonated 2 of the remaining 3 IEDs in controlled explosions. But the third was not found until later in the evening, having been stored inadvertently with luggage taken from one of the trains. The following timeline of events comes from the judicial investigation. All 4 trains had departed the Alcalá the Henares station between 7:01 and 7:14. The explosions took place between 7:37 and 7:40, as described below. All times given are in local time CET. So, Atocha Station, train number 21431. 3 bombs exploded. Based on the video recording from the station's security system, the first bomb exploded at 7:37 and 2 others exploded within 4 seconds of each other at 7:38. The train cars affected were the 6th, 5th, and 4th. A 4th device was found by the TEDAX team 2 hours later in the first car, which was scheduled to explode when emergency services arrived. 2 hours after the first explosions, the bomb was detonated by the bomb disposal team in the first car in a controlled manner. El Pozo de Tio Raimundo Station, train number 21435. At approximately 7:38, just as the train, 6 cars and double-decker, was starting to leave the station, 2 bombs exploded in different carriages. The carriages affected were the 4th and 5th. Another bomb was found in the 3rd wagon and was detonated hours later by the TEDx team on the platform, slightly damaging the 3rd wagon. Yet another bomb was found in the 2nd carriage. It was disabled hours later in the nearby Paraguay Azorin and allowed the police to find several suspects. Santa Eugenia Station, train number 21713. 1 bomb exploded at approximately 7:38. The only wagon affected was the 4th. Then Caletalis, train number 17305. Approximately 800 meters from Atocha Station, 4 bombs exploded in different carriages of the train at approximately 7:39. The wagons affected were the first, the fourth, the fifth, and sixth. The train was slowing down to stop and wait for train 214312 to vacate platform 2 in Atocha. Wow. So this train slowed down, waiting for the first train, which got like 3 bombs. At 08 hours, I think, or 800 hours, I think that's how they call it. Yeah, it's 0800 hours. Emergency just 800 hours because the 8 p.m. would be 2000, right? I don't know. I don't speak military, but I should know. I should know how we should actually say that because why not? It's actually cool. I love military time. It's better than AMs and PMs. I mean, come on. We got 24 hours. We can count till 24. So at 8, emergency relief workers begin arriving at the scenes of the bombings. The police reported numerous victims and spoke of 50 wounded and several dead. By 8:30, the emergency ambulance service SAMUR, which is Servicio de Asistencia Municipal de Urgencia y Rescate, had set up a field hospital at the Dow's y Velarde sports facility. Bystanders and local residents helped relief workers, as hospitals were told to expect the arrival of many casualties. At 8:43, firefighters reported 15 dead at Alfonso. By 9, the police had confirmed the death of at least 30 people, 20 at Alfonso and about 10 in Santa Eugenia and Atocha. People combed the city's mayor hospitals in search of family members who they thought were aboard the trains. There were 193 confirmed dead victims, and last victim dying in 2014 after having been in a coma for 10 years due to one of the Atocha explosions and not having been able to recover from their injuries. The total number of victims was higher than in any other terrorist attack in Spain, far surpassing the 21 killed and 40 wounded from a 1987 bombing at a hypercar chain supermarket in Barcelona. On that occasion, responsibility was claimed by ETA. It was Europe's worst terror attack since the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland in December 1988. Yeah, sad. I mean, there are people who are against us. There are governments who are against us. There are corporations who are against us. There are weather patterns which are against us. A lot of things are against us. Lot. I mean, you know, uh, all we got is each other, I guess. And that's a cliche, honestly. But at the same time, it's kind of true. I am not a socially active person. I'm not. Um, but I know most of the other people are. Um, so I think that there is a minor probability, like very very minor probability that, um, or low probability rather, there is very low probability that we'll still be able um, to, to to save this planet, and at large, do something which makes future better for everyone, which is probably not gonna happen. I'm telling you, I'm warning you, because most of the people are brainwashed. So am I. I mean, who am I to say that I'm not brainwashed? And I don't even know what I'm brainwashed by and whom, I guess. But sure, um, the best way to be brainwashed is if you wash your own brain, I guess. That definitely make you the in charge. You can just convince yourself that you are whatever you want to be. Even if you're not, you, at least in that delusion, you'll still be somewhat happy, I guess, even though it's just a delusion. But at the same time, that delusion leads to leads to manifesting some of those things, I guess. But I'm just speaking from others' experience, I guess. I gotta when I do experience my what do you call when I do experience a life I envision, then I'll be able to say it. Yeah, yeah. That delusions could lead you to to live your dream life, I guess. But the only thing I'm saying is, even if you want to delude yourself, have at it. Just make sure that your delusion doesn't affect anyone else, positively or negatively. I mean, at the very least, right? I mean, if you think your delusion affects just someone positive or negative, that itself means that you're um, trying to impact. Then it becomes kind of like a battle of ego and power and whatnot. But I'm saying delusion, but what I want to actually say is, like, whatever you want to do, like whatever you love to do. If you just keep doing it, um, and convince yourself that that is the gateway to everything in your life, even if it's true or not true. Just convince yourself and do that with that level of motivation, maybe, or dedication. Who knows? Yeah, but yeah, do it, and yeah, and may the force be with you. I'll see you guys next time. Until then,